Hi, I'm Anne from Game Like a Mother. I specialize in games that can be played in 20 minutes or less, and today I am sharing my top 10 dragon-themed board games. These are not games that have one little piece that's a dragon or one little part of it that's sort of dragon related. This is full-fledged, all dragon theme for people who love dragons. I have all the games listed in the description of the video along with a timestamp if you want to skip to a particular one, and I've included links to any of the how to play videos I've created as well. So let's get started. First up, we have Draconic Dice, which is a game in which you're just trying to be the first to get rid of all of your dice. And I love this game because it is so fun but easy to teach. We often don't even explain the rules to people before we just get them started and we say, roll these dice and we'll tell you what your options are, because it's so quick and easy once you start playing. There's just a few different things that can happen when you roll the dice. If you get a blank side up, nothing happens. You just keep that die. If you get an injured knight side up, then you get to discard that. That die is out for the rest of the game. If you get a fire side up, you put that into the center. And then if the next person doesn't roll a fire for one of their dice, then they have to collect any of the fire dice in the center. And then finally, you can roll a dragon on one of your die, and then you can give that to one of your opponents, and then they have more dice they have to get rid of. So that's the entire game. It is simple enough that my 4-year-old daughter is able to play with us with very little help. The hardest part is just her little hands holding 6 dice at once and rolling them is the trickiest part. But she can hang in there for the game. This is one that kids can play, adults enjoy playing on their own. You can take it to the pool. You can pack it very easily. It's just a few dice. It's one that before you're supposed to play a big board game with a big group, this is an easy one to get out and play for a few minutes. We've had games where my son has had an amazing roll and won on his first roll. And it's such a quick game and there's so much luck involved. You say, ha ha ha, good job. Set it out again and start a new game. So this is one that we've had 100% success rate with everybody we've played, and it's just a fantastic choice. Next up, we have Reign of Dragoness, which is just a little card game in which your goal is to be the first to play all of the cards in your hand. This reminds me of the game Scout, but it's a little bit easier. Scout's a very popular trick-taking game right now, and this is very much like that, but like a little more family oriented, I would say. This is one of the Grandpa Beck games. They do really accessible, fun, mostly card games. And this one, it's great because basically you're just setting a pattern each time you play. From your hand of cards, the person with the lowest card gets to go first, and they play it out as part of a pattern. So if they play a pair, then everybody else has to play a pair, and then whoever plays the last set of cards for that gets to go first the next round, and they can do a run or they can do a single card. And I love that it's so simple what your options are, but then deciding what your best strategic choice is can be tricky. Ooh, do I split up this 3 of a kind that I have because they're playing pairs and I have a really high 3 of a kind and I want to be able to get in the lead so that I can do this other thing. So it's really simple, but has good decisions. There's some fun wild cards, and they even have advanced rules if you are wanting something a little more hard-hitting. So this can work for really any demographic. Next up, we have Dragomino, which is the kids' version of King Domino. In Dragomino, you are matching domino pieces that have terrain on them instead of numbers like standard dominoes. And anytime you have 2 matching terrain pieces come together, you get to collect a baby, a dragon egg. And then you flip it over and see if it's empty or if there's a baby dragon inside. And just the most at the end, whoever has the most points wins. You get points for the baby dragons. And this game, people ask like, oh, King Domino seems simple enough already. Why should I get Dragomino? Well, one, the theme. We played this at one of my board game classes, and there were preteen boys in there who are very capable of playing King Domino. They loved Dragomino because they were so excited about the little dragons. Oh, look, I got this one. Oh, look, I got this one. So it's just fun, the theme, and it's easy. It's a little more forgiving than standard King Domino, and the kids can add up their score at the end. If you play this with younger kids, the King Domino scoring gets a little tricky. Okay, I have 8 times 3 plus 7 times 2 plus, it gets where you need a pen and paper, and this is just count up how many baby dragons you have at the end, which is nice. It's nice when the kids can fully handle all aspects of the game. And I really like this one too, because if you get an empty dragon egg, there's a like a pity token, which is the mama dragon. If you have an empty dragon egg, you're given the mama dragon, which means you get to go first the next time. And it's amazing how much that helps kids, where it could be really disappointing. Sometimes you just have some bad luck and you keep on picking empty dragon eggs. And by getting the mama dragon and getting to go first the next time, it's a little pat on the back. It's kind of a help. Even if somebody else then has an empty dragon egg and it gets moved on to them, you still, at the moment of, oh, I didn't get the thing I wanted, you're given a good thing. So it's genius how the game is designed. The theme is great. It's spot on for kids for a wide age range, surprisingly. So this is one I teach a lot of board game classes for kids, and more this seems like one where I bring it in and can say, oh, I've played that. I love that game. So this, it seems like it's a hit for every kid. Next up, we have Dragonwood and Dragonrealm, because I had too many games for this list, so I combined these for one spot on the list. Dragonwood is a modern classic as far as I'm concerned, and we have played it to death in my house. The goal of the game is to collect the most points, which you get by rolling dice in order to acquire magical creatures. You collect cards, and depending on if you have a set or a run or cards of the same color, you're able to use those cards to collect dice. So if you have a run of 2, 3, 4, you can place them down and you grab 3 dice because you played down 3 cards, and you get to roll those dice to try to collect one of the creatures. And depending on the type of dice roll you pick, you have to get a different number. You do different attacks on these beasts. And it is so fun. It is so rewarding to play. They have some enhancement cards. You can have some special abilities. There's some special events that happen. So it's pretty simple, but it's just so rewarding and fun to play. We actually sleeved the cards for this. I don't really sleeve cards. We have a lot of games. We play a wide variety of this. We've played this one to death, and it's one that I hear people talking about frequently that just their kids love. Dragonrealm is the follow-up to Dragonwood, and it's very similar in terms of gameplay, but I would take Dragonrealm to an adult game night without any shame. Nobody would be surprised to see it show up. The graphics seem correct for an adult game, and it's ages 10 and up on the box. But it's not tricky or complicated. I would still get Dragonwood first, especially if you have kids, to play with them. But then you move on to Dragonrealm, and it retains some of the same beauty of the original while having slightly higher strategic decisions that you're making. And so instead of collecting magical creatures, there's location cards, and you're rolling in the same way. You're collecting cards and using them for different attacks, and you're rolling for a spot on the location cards, and whoever gets the most spots wins the card, and there's like a first prize value for getting the card where you get like 5 coins or something like that. And then there's a second prize value. Whoever has the second most spots on that card will get like 2 coins. But they throw in some fun elements where there are goblins that if you flip over a goblin card, it can take one of the spots on the locations you're going for and mess up the number of, oh, instead of getting first on that card, now I tied and I have to split the spoils with the person I was playing against. And it just makes the game much more interesting. You start out with a couple of enhancement cards. It has some of our favorite little meeples. Your adventure meeples are really cool. Just the little pieces that you play with, they're goblin meeples as well that are really fun. So it retains the joy of Dragonwood, but just a slightly higher strategy level. And these are essentials for anybody who loves dragons. Next up, we have Dragon Farkle, which takes traditional Farkle and kind of ramps it up to a full-fledged, like a gamer board game by giving you a quest, because you are trying, instead of rolling the dice in order to collect points, you are rolling the dice in order to recruit soldiers, and once you hit 5,000 soldiers or points collected, you get to go and battle the dragon, and whoever defeats the dragon first is the winner of the game. And the game has so many little specialty things that add to it that make it really fun. You have a companion card that you get at the beginning that's basically gives you some of power or ability. There are magic items that you can acquire, and they let you have special abilities or things that you can do with them, and they're all unique and add to the game. And you can, on your turn, you can either recruit, brawl, or battle the dragon if you have enough points. And recruit is just basic Farkle, which is where you're rolling your dice, and the trick with Farkle is certain things score, and each dice roll is independent, even on your own turn. So if you roll and you get a 1 and a 5, and those both score, so you put them off to the side. If you roll again with your 4 remaining dice, if you get 2 more 5s, it doesn't mean you suddenly have 3 of a kind. That's a separate dice roll from the first dice roll. So that's the trickiest thing to get used to when you play Farkle. Each dice roll is independent. And Farkling is when you Farkle when you go bust, basically. If you roll the dice and you don't get at least like a 3 of a kind or a 1 or a 5 that come up, then you have Farkled, you lost all of your points from the entire round. And what's fun about this is there's a special dragon die that you roll every time in addition to your 6 normal dice. And you can roll a dragon, which it will eat any of the soldiers you've recruited for that specific roll. So if you roll a 3 of a kind, but you roll the dragon side of the die as well, too bad all of the soldiers have gotten eaten by the dragon. You don't get any points for that specific roll. You can keep on rolling though with the remaining dice. But it also can help you because if you get a Farkle roll where you didn't get any points, but the dragon side comes up, you can keep on going. So there's a pro and con to it. The brawl choice for your turn is where if somebody else has a lot of soldiers and maybe you're lagging a bit behind, you can choose to battle them and try to steal some of their soldiers, which is fun. And then you get 6 dice to do that, and they only have 5 of their dice to try to defend themselves, so you're supposed to be at a bit of an advantage, but I've often done this and still lost a bunch of soldiers to them, so there's not a guarantee you're gonna win, even with more dice. So it's kind of mixed up traditional Farkle and elevated it to a more full-fledged game, and it is a blast to play. Next up, we have Dragon Parks, and the biggest selling point for this game is the really cool, like, translucent cards that you use as part of the gameplay. You are building islands that have dragons on them, and you are trying to attract the most visitors. That's how you win the game. So it's basically you're getting the most points, but it's whoever gets the most visitors wins. And all you're doing is you have 3 different island tiles in front of you, and on each turn, you're placing one of the clearer cards on the island, and they have things like dragon eggs, sheep, different colors of dragons. Some of the dragons are angry, and you're just stacking things so you get a lot of points if you have the greatest variety of dragons on an island, and then they have bonus points for different colors or types of dragons, and you score each round, and probably our favorite part of this game is how you need to have enough sheep to feed all of your dragons, otherwise some of your visitors go missing. And we are perhaps a little too into the hilarity of that aspect of the game, but it's surprisingly tricky. You start out and you're like, oh, no big deal. I'm placing cards now. Look at all these different dragons I'm getting. by the time it gets to the final round, you're trying to place dragons but not cover up the dragons you already have. You don't want to cover up those double sheep because that's so helpful. You're watching out for the angry dragons because that scares away visitors. If they get covered up, they apparently it's like think that like they're letting out a big roar and then somebody goes and runs away. So there's an art to it at the end. So I love this where it's really simple to get the basics down, but it is tricky and thinky every time you play to just manage it just right. And you are so proud if you get a really high scoring island with a bunch of different kinds of dragons on it. Next up, we have 7 Dragons, a card game in which your goal is to get 7 dragons of your goal color in a row first, and then you win. You're laying them out in the center of the table, kind of domino style, as long as something matches from your card. You can place it next to another card, and this game is great because it scales for whatever age level you want. They have preschool rules in the instructions that we've used with my preschooler successfully, and she had so much fun playing with the colorful dragon cards, but it goes all the way through advanced rules where there are some specialty cards like that allow you to trade hands, goals, move a card, and sometimes you can play those where it changes the color of the central dragon and you perform the action, or you can choose to just change the color and not take the action, or vice versa, take the action and not take the color. So it can get to be a little bit more, but the basics of it are just to get 7 in a row. And I tell you, there's nothing as fun as watching my husband get to 5 or 6 in a row of his color dragon, knowing that I have a couple cards that allow me to steal goals. And so then I just steal his goal card, and then he'll try to steal it back, but I'll steal it again. And then I play the final dragon and snag the victory. So it is just, there's nothing as satisfying as that. But it's really fun. Even if you're behind, things can change, sometimes randomly, sometimes with purpose. So it is just a lovely card game that is great for the whole family or for more established gamers. It works for a wide audience. Next up, we have Magic Dragons, a game in which you are trying to be the first to 40 or more points, and you get points by counting up how many dragons are stacked up in front of you at the end of a round of play. But really, the main way to do really well at this game is the bidding process at the beginning of a round, where you get to take cards that say how many stacks of dragons you plan on having in front of you at the end of the round. And there's different point levels associated with it depending on what you end up with. So 2 is pretty easy. It's worth, I think, 5 points, but 1 card and 1 stack in front of you is trickier to do, so that's worth more. And then 0 is very difficult, so that's worth a bunch more points. And there are specialty cards that allow people to either burn a stack of dragons that are in front of you or freeze them. If you play higher cards than what people have out, you're able to steal stacks from people. So there's a bit of movement. You're just playing 1 card per turn. You have a hand of cards and you're playing 1 card per turn, and there's only 1 color out of that particular kind. So if it's purple dragons and I play 2 purple in front of me and the person next to me plays 4 purple, then they can steal it. So it's a really fun, interesting little card game where it's pretty easy to pick up the basics. There's a little more take that element than works well with my children. My husband and I do great with it, trying to sabotage each other. But with our kids, it can be a little bit harder to play this game. But if you're in the right gaming group, this is so fun. There's so much player interaction. It's so exciting if you actually make your bid. And it's pretty quick. It doesn't take that long to get up to 40 points. Next up, we have Dragon's Breath. This is very much a child's game, but little kids love dragons, and it's got really fun, beautiful, sparkling gems that you are supposed to collect each turn. So already, just playing with the pieces of the game, kids are excited. You have this mound of ice rings with all the jewels inside of them, and on your turn, you slide an ice ring off, and then people get to collect colors that match with whatever their goal colors are of that round. And So it's some dexterity, being able to pick them up. There's some holes in the board that they can fall through. It's really simple to play. It says 5 and up on the box, but this is great for 4-year-olds. And I'd start earlier because this is the type of game that's really cute, really fun, is going to be a child's favorite for a little while. This is great, like 4, 5, and 6. But by the time they're getting older, this isn't going to grab their attention as much. But for younger ages, it's really sweet. It's only one person wins, but it's not anything, nobody's really doing anything mean to you. So, and it's just so satisfying. The kids love those gems and play with the little sparkling stones all the time. So it's sweet, it's a hit, it's perfect for younger dragon lovers. Next up, we have Tsuro, a game in which you just follow the path and try not to run into anybody else or fall off the end of the board. That's it. You have 3 tiles in your hand each turn. You are picking 1 to place, and then you get to move your stone character to follow the path. But also anybody else that's adjacent to the piece that you just placed, you get to move them along too, so you can control what people are doing and send them to their doom off the side of the board if you want, or colliding with another player. It is very mellow. This game is great if you have a larger group that needs something simple and you don't want to play like a party game. This is great. It goes up to 8 players and it's so easy to teach the basics of the game. That said, if the basics of the game are a little bit too mellow for you, they have some follow-up, more strategic options, which are Tsuro of the Sea and Phoenix Rising, which you should check out. And finally, my bonus number 11 on this list is Dragon Castle, because it is technically a 45-minute game, but we own the digital version, which was about $4 to get, and it takes 10 or 15 minutes to play a game, and it's mahjong style, where you can play against opponents, and you are collecting tiles, like in the original, the mahjong that used to come with your computer, that you play and collect matching tiles. It's based off of that, but you collect tiles and then you get to create your own kingdom out of them. And if you get enough tiles that are the same color, they flip over and you're able to build on top of those for more points. And there are some specialty tokens where you can move some tiles around, or different scoring based on how you create your kingdom. So it is mahjong plus, and it's really easy. And I like having some digital games. There's a time and a place for them. And this one's very well done and we enjoy it tremendously. So that's it for my top 10 dragon-themed board games. This was such a fun list to prep for and then film, because we are all in on the dragon-themed games in my household. We have played so many of these games so much, and the new additions that we've just started playing are already favorites, and we're excited to play them more. So hopefully you found 1 or 2 games you're interested in checking out from this list, and thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time from Game Like a Mother.